Hey Dad, was it a crane like that you had your accident with?
And that was it. Many of the accidents that occur with commercial vehicles are due to manual loading and unloading. It is therefore a welcome development that many more trucks are now equipped with loading devices, such as lorry-mounted cranes. They facilitate loading and unloading and make it safer and faster. As long as the crane manufacturer's operating manual, the accident prevention regulations, and any possible technical directives from the crane employers are scrupulously observed. But unfortunately, inexpert and careless handling of loader cranes often leads to accidents which could have been avoided.
Dad, come on, tell us. Dad, was it a crane like that one?
Yeah, it was a crane like that. I'll never forget that Friday. We were starting our holidays on Saturday. They asked me to take a stack of timbers to a nearby building site. An everyday assignment. The sort of thing I'd done thousands of times before. Nothing had ever gone wrong. But then, just once, just that one time, I must have been off my guard for just a second, and I made that fateful mistake. That Friday afternoon. And that was it.
Mistakes are there for the making, says the old proverb. Mistakes are only human, and sometimes not even that. At any rate, mistakes are avoidable.
I know the dangers. I've been properly trained. I was so absolutely sure that that sort of thing couldn't happen to me. It only happened to others. Yeah, that's what I thought.
It needn't happen. If only crane operators followed the crane manufacturer's manual, the instructions of the Health and Safety Authority, as well as the directives given by their employers. And of course, if they always took into account and correctly judged the forces that come into play during crane operations and were continually aware of the hazards involved in crane work. There are countless variations on the theme of loader cranes. They're available in rear and front-mounted versions, with ground control station, high seat or remote controls. The latter being more and more popular nowadays because the crane operator can work outside the danger zone and also get a far better view of the loading and unloading operation. But he is still responsible all the same, because even remote-controlled loader cranes can cause hazardous situations if not properly handled. Proper crane work involves the perfect interplay of many different operations which the crane operator must carry out with due care and precision.
Care and precision. A matter of principle for me. I did everything as usual. At least that's what I thought. I know the ropes, every movement rehearsed. Yeah, I admit, sometimes you realize your mind's not quite on the job. Sometimes you don't pull the stabilizer extension right out as you should, or you don't give the leg enough support. Sometimes the load's too heavy. Maybe a little carelessly secured, or you didn't quite follow the load tables. Maybe just little moments of distraction. But now, I think differently about that sort of thing. Because there was that Friday, before the holidays.
Crane operators have a very responsible job. They have to be over 18 and physically and mentally capable of the job. They have to undergo a proper training course, and it's their employer's responsibility to see that they do so. Before every unloading operation, the crane operator has to make sure that he can set down the load at an adequate distance. The permitted load at any given outreach must be read off the load plate on the crane. To support the vehicle properly, the operator tests the bearing capacity of the ground. Rolling away can be prevented by applying the parking brake and positioning wheel chocks. But stabilizer legs must never be used in place of the parking brake. The legs might not withstand the lateral forces and may bend or even break. And on soft ground, the legs must always rest on a support plate of adequate size. Before every load handling operation, apply the parking brake, switch on the auxiliary drive, and adjust the engine speed. This sandy ground is too soft for the legs, so they have to be additionally supported on adequate-sized plates. The stabilizers must always be secured, both while driving and craning, no matter whether they're manually or hydraulically extended. Stabilizer extensions must of course be fully extended and immediately secured again. Safe and firm contact with the ground provided by stabilizer legs is essential in crane operation, and not only on the load discharging side but also on the opposite side. Always extend all the legs, no matter whether the vehicle has 2 or 4 legs. The crane truck rises a little against the springs. The most frequent cause of accidents is failure to jack up the vehicle properly by not extending the stabilizers fully or because the ground is too soft. Crane operators should always have support plates or large firm blocks to hand and be ready to use them. The manufacturer's rated loading values only apply to a horizontal, well-supported crane. If the lorry tilts to one side, the permissible load decreases since the center of gravity has moved away from the vehicle axis. Accidents frequently occur when the crane operator unfolds the crane from the wrong side. This is the right way to do it. If the crane hook is hanging vertically above the load can be attached. A braked hoisting test shows whether the load is safely held. If the load is lashed by a slinger, wait for his go-ahead sign before hoisting. If several slingers are at work, agree which one is to give the signal.
Halt! You can't start yet, mate.
Loader cranes are often used, unofficially, to shift loads on the deck of the lorry, telescoping jibs misused to pull loads, and slewing gear to slide loads off the bed. All prohibited.
Do you mind going round the other way?
The slewing radius is always a danger area, so no one is permitted to enter it.
Hey, mind how you go. Careful with those overhead cables.
I can see that. I'm keeping well away.
Take extra care in the vicinity of overhead cables and power lines. If this is difficult, then the crane operations must be transferred to another site or an adequate safety distance maintained. With unknown voltages, a minimum safety distance of 5 meters must be maintained. Obstacles often stand in the way of loading or unloading operations. In this case, the load may not be slewed until it is high enough to clear any possible obstacles in its way. Jerky control movements set loads swinging and may cause accidents by hitting surrounding obstacles. The crane can be damaged and the load might be dropped. If the load is handled smoothly, the rigging correctly applied and the load table observed, nothing can go wrong when hoisting with a loader crane. When unloading, for example, the vehicle rises up on its springs, and so the legs have to be readjusted. When the craning operation is complete, don't bring the boom system into resting position by the controls on the resting side, but from the opposite side. Remember, there's a crushing hazard. It goes without saying that the stabilizers must be secured after they've been retracted. How many times have unsecured stabilizers been the cause of accidents and even fatalities? After switching off the auxiliary power takeoff, the crane work is finished. Carrying out all the operations safely and conscientiously confirms the crane operator's experience and his responsibility to others, to the loading materials, and to the tools of his trade. Pictures like this need not be. Drivers of loader cranes bear a major responsibility. They have to work conscientiously and considerately. They must never take risks because they are fully aware of the hazards that are imminent and which in a split second can lead to an accident with fateful consequences.
Nothing ever went wrong. But then, just once, just that one time, I was off my guard for just a second and I made that fateful mistake. Yeah, and that was it. Do it better yourself.